All right, welcome to our class. Hopefully it will be better in the future. What I want to do is go over some basic concepts. Um, I am using the Komodo editor. You're more than welcome to use whatever editor you wish. And I have an HTML document open. I have my doc type, my basic tags. I want to point out that JavaScript can be placed in very similar to CSS. It can be embedded in the head section, or it can be called from an external file. If it is called from an external file, you still need the opening and closing script tag. The extension will end in a .js. If it's embedded, you still need the opening and closing script tag. If you use both, you need both. So so you would need two script blocks. However, everything is placed embedded in one script block. You do not need multiple script blocks. Type equals text / JavaScript is no longer required. The language attribute has been deprecated for a while. So just like with CSS, all you need to do is to code in an opening and closing script tag. Now, JavaScript can be written in the body, and you're allowed to write in the body for the first class only. And writing in the body would be using usually document.write. When the browser loads, and let me just do this here. I'll just throw an alert here. Let me back this up. When the browser loads the page, it reads it from the top to bottom. So it's going to show the title, it's going to show something up here, it's going to execute something up here. Now I don't have anything here, so let me just comment that out. And let me put an alert here. And alert 1. Alright, there you go. So if I were to save this, and now I'm going to go up and, let me just move this in. Oh, let me move that in so I don't have to keep on hitting. There we are. And I can move this over here. There we go. And reload. Alright, so the first thing it's doing, it's reading this. Next, it would read something there. And this is a very good tool for executing code, determining your values. It's a good debugging tool. I'll look at debuggers later. So now we have just looked at that alert. The next thing, notice it's going down. You see our learning to write JavaScript in the background, but then we have another alert. So then you have to hit the button and there it goes. Alright, so this is the way JavaScript works. And in the early days of the web, because it worked in this order, you could actually have some code written in here. In traditional JavaScript, this is not good, because once something is in here, it stays in there. It's very similar to writing inline CSS. You can't get it out. The beauty of embedded CSS is that ultimately it can be put in an external file. Also, we can write media queries and we can change it. Well, you can do the same with JavaScript. You can pretty much serve different files for different devices if you need to do so. But once it's in the body, it's in the body, it stays there. So what we do is we reference something by its ID value. And we use the inner HTML property, which is between the opening and closing elements, to insert content. Now, there are other ways of referencing elements in the document. We're going to be working with getElementById for the first couple weeks. It's a very popular way. So, if this ID was cost, you know, I can kind of hear something. I can kind of hear myself. And I were to say document I need to be in the script. It's not working there. And let me comment this out. I don't want that there anymore. If I were to say document, notice I love this editor. Other editors will do this also. Dot. These are all of your methods and properties of the document object model. And believe me, there's a lot of them. We're only going to be touching the surface of them. Document.getElement, all right? And I can just put a G by ID. What ID? What was the name of that cost? And we can use single or double quotes. Dot inner HTML equals hello world. If I were to try to execute that statement, and let me just move it out a little bit so you can see everything. Moving it over here. Remember, we run JavaScript executes from the top down. If it reads this, get element by ID cost, does it know where cost is? No. There's no way it knows that because we haven't got there yet. So if I were to save this and reload, there's my alert and nothing else happens. So what you need to do, and we'll be doing this with jQuery also, whenever you have a reference to something on the page, it needs to be enclosed by this little function. We have window, which is the top level object, .onload. That's the load event. All events in JavaScript begin with the word on. Window.onload equals an anonymous function. All right, so everything inside the opening and closing curly brace of this anonymous function will be executed after the page loads. So every reference, when you're writing to the page, this is how you have to do it. And JavaScript is case sensitive. Inner HTML is spelled the way that is. Capital E here, capital B, capital I. Now, if I save this and I come back, and let me just get rid of that alert down there. I don't like it. It's bothering me. All right, now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to load. There we go. There's my hello world, or the proverbial hello world. So this is how you write to the page using the document object model. All of your statements, anything that references an ID, has to be in here. Now, traditionally, this is what we did in our script. We would say document.write, and I'll just say hello world too. Hello world first, because this one is going to execute in front of the other one. Okay, so this is the right method of the document object. It's the same document, meaning the page. And this is more traditional JavaScript where we used to write inside. And you'll still see people doing this, and it's not the best approach, which is why I am pointing this out. Now, our get element by ID hello world is going to show up underneath it. So if I save this and I load, there we are. So here's hello world first over here on the left. Now I can move this over here. Let me just do this. All right, so this script tag here shows up here. This one here shows up later, all right, because of the position in which it's written in the HTML document. However, this property was not set until the page loaded. All right, supposing we're working with a variable. All right, I'm going to put a variable up here. I'll say var my name equals Teresa. All right, now this does not need to be inside the onload. JavaScript will read that as the page loads. However, it doesn't need to be in there. The only thing that needs to be in here are page references and clicks, like when you click a button, because you have to reference the ID of that button. So supposing I wanted to say, hello world Teresa, I can leave my string here. I can concatenate it with the plus sign. Let me move over here. Another reason I like this editor, see that red line? It means there's a problem. I can concatenate it with the variable called my name. There it is. It knows it. Look how nice. I can save it. And now I need to get my little window, which is over here. There it is. I'm going to reload. Did I save this? There we go. All right, now notice that Teresa and Hello World are squashed together because they are. If I put a space here, now we are going to, it's going to look a little better. All right, so this is the basis behind writing to the page. Now, let's look at working with that here in document.write. All right, so here's my document.hello world first. We'll just leave first in document.write. Now, I could concatenate my variable there also if I wanted to. So I can put that here, and I can put my name here, and concatenate. There we go. There's my red line. My red line has now disappeared. And now I'm going to reload, and there we are. All right, so this works the same way. By the way, in this script tag, it's an inline element. So if I were to write, it's not a block level element like a paragraph. So if I were to write something on the top of it and on the bottom of it, it's all going to be much squashed together right there. All right, so think of it inline like a bold tag or a strong tag. So if you're using document.write to write to the page, you need to incorporate that. Here again, this is a lot cleaner because we're not working with all of these other issues with document.write. All right, so let's take a look at what we're going to be doing similar for the assignment. The assignment is a very simple calculate cost. You're giving some values, you're going to do some calculations, and you're going to be writing the values to the page. So I'm going to start out with we'll start out with calculating the cost of beans, and we're going to the beans will be, say, $1, and we're going to buy 2 pounds. All right, when you start working in JavaScript, a lot of times you're working with variables. You probably want to get your variables declared right up front, and you want to have meaningful names. All right, so if I wanted, I'm working with the cost of beans, and I'm working with the pounds of beans. All right, so if I were to say beans pounds equals 2. All right, say I bought 2 pounds of beans. Now, 2 is a number. It's going to be calculated as a number. Therefore, it's not quoted. Variables, literals, will be quoted. And notice my semicolon, and notice my nice syntax here. Now, I'm going to declare the cost of the beans. Var beans cost. And I'm going to line up my equals, because it's easier for me to say, $1. Now, you really don't need to put those points. All right? So if you wanted to say $1, all right, there's my comment. And it's always a nice idea to comment things. All right, so this is like a setup. You need to have variables. You need to have meaningful variables. And we're pretty much doing calculations. Everything's going to be a number. Now, supposing we want the total. All right, so maybe now I'll say var beans total. And that's going to be my calculation. All right, so my calculation is going to be what? It's going to be my beans cost times my beans pounds. Look how nice this editor is. I love it. puts everything up there for you. All right, so in the real world, generally speaking, variables are placeholders. A lot of times you're getting your values from a form. Say you're ordering something, and you say you want one or two of them, etc. In this situation, we're coding in static values because you haven't learned how to retrieve information from forms yet. All right, so it would be very easy to multiply 2 times 1. However, that's not the object of the game. The object of the game is to use variables. One thing that I like to do, even though we know, and you know what, let's do this. Let's make it $1.50 a pound. That one is kind of too weird. All right, this is the alert can be a very good testing tool. All right, so here's my alert beans total. And this can, even though we can eyeball it and we know it's $3, there might be times when you don't necessarily know it. So you want to test ahead of time. All right, so there's 3. And everything else is top, bottom. Where's the rest of my stuff? Where's my hello worlds? That was weird. Where did hello worlds go? Okay, anyway. What I do a lot, I will actually... Ooh. Move up here. I'll just type it out. Control Z. Beans total. I will actually enclose my variables as a literal, and this is a little bit more meaningful to me than just seeing a 3. There we go. So I'm concatenating. There's my string. That's the name of my variable, beans total, equals concatenated with the value. So this is what I like to do when I test. And now I will reload. And now you get a more understandable way of testing your expression here. And I don't know what happened. That's kind of interesting. I don't know what happened to the rest of the code here. All right, there's beans pounds. There's my script. All right, there's my alert. There's $1. Okay. Why am I not even seeing this? Oh, because there's I erased my name. Did I erase my name? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Excellent. Here we go. Notice there's top and bottom, and what in the world happened? I was trying to figure that out. And the same thing happened with cost is no longer there. We were using the variable my name in both situations up here, and we were writing our hello world statements, and they're not there anymore. All right, JavaScript is one of the hardest languages to debug. It doesn't give you any warnings. It just doesn't work. And sometimes it's very difficult to figure out what in the world is going on. Therefore, it is a good idea to write 1 or 2 lines of code, test it. Write a couple lines, test it. That way you'll catch the mistake right up front rather than after you've been working on it for half an hour. All right, every browser has built-in debugging tools. And this one, which is Firefox, if I went, and sometimes they work well and sometimes they don't work well. If I go to Developer, and I'm going to go to the web console here. There we go. Look how nice. Reference, my name is not defined, and it shows you the file name and the line and the column. I've never figured out how to figure out columns. So before you start getting upset and thinking, what in the world's going on, there are tools, developer tools. This is the web console. in the browser. Now, like I said, sometimes they work nicely, sometimes they don't. It depends on what the error is. So sometimes there's outright syntax errors where something is not defined. Sometimes there's logical errors where our thinking is just off. It can't figure that out if our thinking is just off. This is the Firebug add-on that I have here also. And I love Firebug. And sometimes that will give you the errors also. Alright, doesn't seem to give us the errors here. There's script. Alright, let me see if it's giving me. But what it does, it shows you things over here. Alright, there's your information here. There's your onload, whatever. And I'm going to do, we will look at this later. But obviously I'm not seeing, yeah, this is not giving us any errors here. Alright, let's get out of there. But from the window in Firefox, I went to Developer, I went to Web Console, and Chrome has a tool also. Alright, so let's go back into our code here, and let's just get rid of all this. Well, let's not get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. And let's get rid of this inside here. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to show you how, notice it doesn't like that, how to write to the page. Alright, so supposing I wanted to, I'm doing a calculation such as what you'll be doing in your assignment, and I want to write to the page the total cost of beans are. Alright, so this is my variable that's going to hold the value. And this is, now, I'm going to do it two ways. The first way is using get element by ID. And this is my placeholder here. So you want to think of these as placeholders. And what is inside is inner HTML, because we can write HTML and we also can write JavaScript there. So if I wanted to say, and I'll make it the cost of beans is, and actually if I wanted to concatenate it with a bold tag, and then there's my $sign. Alright, now there's a space, and I can concatenate it with cost beans. I'm running off the page. Why is my thing not? It's cost beans, right? Oh no, it's not cost beans. It's beans total. Okay, see, that's why I didn't highlight it. There you go. Okay, my language was wrong. Beans total. Now I'm going to concatenate that with my ending bold tag. Quote. There you go. Alright, so this is a literal, and HTML is looked at as a literal because the browser interprets it exactly. I'm concatenating it with a variable which holds a value. I'm concatenating it with my ending bold tag. And there's my semicolon at the end of the statement. Alright, it's kind of a long statement, but that's the way it works. Alright, so we're saying that when the page loads, now this is all being calculated ahead of time. And let me comment out my alert here. So when the page loads, it's going to write to it. This is the inner HTML property. So if I save this, and I reload, there you go. Now that doesn't look very pretty. 3. Alright, we have a toFixed method. Alright, now the toFixed method, there it is, converts, if you've ever worked with Excel, you know that you just plug in numbers, and then you go up to the toolbar to do the formatting, the decimals, the commas, the $signs. This essentially takes a number and converts it to a string in order to format it. So what we're doing, we're telling it, we're executing the toFixed method, this is our dot syntax, on the value of this, which is a number, and it's going to round it off to 2 decimal points so it looks pretty. So I save this, and I reload. There we go. Beautiful. Alright, so this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be writing to the page. You're going to be calculating values and writing to the page. You're going to have nice syntax, and you might even want to put some comments and some alerts to test the values just to make sure that it's right before you actually write it out. Alright, let's do it using document.write. Okay, so here again, if you were using document.write, the only thing that you need in the body section is the writing. You don't need your calculations in the body. Alright, the calculations can go up top, your variables can go up top. All you want to do is write to the page. And we're going to essentially do the same thing. We'll say the total cost of beans is, alright, we're going to concatenate it with our variable, so that's beans total, right? There it is. Okay, now I didn't format it yet, so let me just save that. Let me move this over. Here it is. There it is. Get rid of top and bottom. We don't need them anymore. Alright, so just showing you that this is an inline element. Alright, so let's put our bold here, and actually you can put CSS in here and do an inline style. There's our $sign. Now let's put the toFixed. There it is. And we need to concatenate this with our ending bold. There we go. And if I save this, and there we go. Alright, well, notice I have a different expression here. Alright, so you're able to write to the page using document.write, and it goes inside the body. Now, supposing, and you're going to be writing several lines of code. You're also going to be calculating something else. You're going to have several calculations. And by the way, there's my semicolon. Alright, so what you might want to do, you can actually have another document.write, document.write, and where's my parens? Okay, another calculation is here, alright, another ANOT, another value is here. Alright, let's save that. And here we go, there it is. Alright, now notice it's all stringing along. So you might need to put a BR at the end so that we go down to another line. And depending on how you lay out your code. Now, we didn't actually have to do it this way. We could have done this. We could have said the cost of beans is, and I could have put a script tag down here, script, and I could say document.write, and I can just output the variable, and that's beans total, right? Yeah, beans total. There you go. And this is what we did in the 90s, which is why it was horrible. You have HTML mixed up with JavaScript, and it just gets very hard to work with after a while. But here, I need to put a break there. Let me put a break up here. I'll put 2 breaks here. Control Z. Control Z. Break. Alright, let me save this. Let me put this back up here. There we go. Alright. So there's different ways that using document.write. You can go in and out of HTML and JavaScript. And in this case, you can have multiple blocks of script in the body. Here again, this is traditional JavaScript, and you're allowed to do this for this first assignment and this first assignment also. The cleaner approach is setting a placeholder, giving an ID, which every ID is unique in the document, and using the inner HTML property. The confusing part is that every time you reference something in the document, it needs to be wrapped with this anonymous function that is called after the page loads, because JavaScript reads from the top down. It doesn't know where this is until it gets there. However, with document.write, it reads from the top down, so it's not a problem. When it gets there, it executes the code. However, each you use document.write, you want all your calculations to be in the head section, and you only need one script block to hold your calculations. So you could do everything with one script block. If you're going to be writing in the body with document.write, you'll need at least one script block in the body and one in the head. And that being said, what I want to do is I want to turn the recording off. If I can, there we go.